Welcome to Shaping Success with myself and Robert Watson. We are back for another edition. It is Monday. I missed last Wednesday. I had a little bit of a power outage. It was kind of funny. My wife wakes up and we have the monitor right next to the bed for my 3-year-old. I wonder if he lives on the other corner of the house though, so it's kind of far away, and she gets concerned about what's going on. And she's like, "This stupid monitor won't work," and she's slamming it against the end table. And she soon realizes that the power is out and it's not going to work. But I'm surprised she didn't break the dang monitor.
What happens when you get woke up in the middle of the night, right?
Yeah. Well, and you know how it goes. Like with setting up the podcast. Like I was sitting there thinking it was like 1:30 in the morning. The power's out, and now I'm up trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm not going to get enough sleep. And I know that it's going to take 45 minutes to get the computer set back up. To get going, right, to go live, which is just kind of annoying, but we got her handled.
Totally true.
And we are here now.
Yes, and drinking coffee to get the week started.
Yes, for sure. So you said you had a quote that you wanted to talk about. Let's dive right into that bad boy.
Yeah, it's the greatest things in the world were created by tired people.
That was yesterday's, wasn't it? For your TikTok. Yep, I saw it. The greatest things in the world are built by tired people.
By tired people.
Yep, I can say that is completely true. How often are you tired?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is my 10th year of running, and I've only got like 60 days left in the year. Mm-hmm. And this has been the hardest year yet for me, for whatever reason. Got a million excuses, but it doesn't really matter. It's been the toughest year, but it brings me around to the thing that I'm getting to watch. And I know we don't want to obsess about sports, but I think it's kind of fun to see because it was the running back for the Eagles, Barkley, who broke an Eagles record in his first year as an Eagle on his second team in the NFL. And what we're seeing in the NFL is this renaissance of guys on their second team, right? All of these guys going through these renaissance, Russell Wilson. You begin to look and start realizing that, they were almost declared dead, right? But yet here they are back, making a huge impact. And that just reminded me of tired people, right? Because, a lot of times we're talking about people who are up there in their years for playing football. And the reality is hey, they're still capable of getting it done.
Right.
And that's the same thing we have to remember is that, listen, it's not going to be easy. There isn't anything about aging that's easy. And you're always going to be tired, and especially when you have kids, you know that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just, there isn't, I don't know if I remember a time when we were energized having kids. Right, probably until they were in their teens.
Yeah,
because
it's funny too.
So much energy.
Yeah, and it's funny because with them, like I sit there and I think about it every single day. I thought about this yesterday. So yesterday, my wife and I decided that we were going to get a Black Friday TV. We got this big TV and we upgraded the one that we had, and I can't hang the thing on my wall myself because it's so big, and I want to hang it on the wall. So I've got tools laying around. I got my 2-year-old. My wife took my daughter to the Nutcracker, and I've got my 2, almost 3-year-old running around, just wanting to be in the middle of everything, wanting to help Dad, wanting to do this, wanting to do that. And I'm sitting there thinking, how do I get anything done with these kids? It's like, it's so difficult, and it is tiring to sit there and go back and forth. And my buddy who was with me, who helped me hang it on the wall, he was like, it's funny. He goes, I just, you just act like they're not there. Not act like they're not there, but don't think of it that way. Think of it like they're just part of it. And what can you do to entertain them, and what can you do to keep them going, because they need to know how to do that. And those things wear on you, right? Like they do make you tired. But we ended up getting it hung up, and he had a good time. It was hilarious because he had a good time doing what he's doing. Then my buddy leaves, and I'm cleaning up, and I put him at the table and feed him lunch. And I walk over, and he's, I'm taking stuff in and out of the house because I got this big box I got to cut up and go put outside. And I look over, and he's sitting at the table like this, passed out, didn't eat his lunch, drool dripping down his chin. So he got a little wore out.
Yeah. That's the funny part. I remember the energy of that phonetic energy, especially boys, right?
Yep.
They have a little bit more phonetic energy, and then all of a sudden they just drop. Girls
Hmm.
do it too. There are some girls that they lay down for 2 seconds and they're asleep.
Yep.
But I mean, that's back to that whole tired thing. If we think that life is going to be simple and set up and we're going to be energized, that's just not the way it really is. The way it really is you're going to do a lot of crap tired. And that's reminded me of this whole 10th year of running.
Yep.
Every day has felt like I'm, lifting a refrigerator. Yesterday I had a really, really good run, great times, right? And today I experienced the backlash of that.
Hmm.
And I was like, really? Just one day that I've run really, really solid. The next day I'm a little achy. And yeah, because that's life.
And it's a good thing to hear that too, because I think a lot of people think that, well, oh, you've been doing it for 10 years. It must be easy for you. But you still, after those 10 years, have those, let's wake up in the morning and I don't necessarily know that I want to do this today. You know, that's, and you still go out there and you still do it, tired or not, you make it happen.
Yeah. There's of course, another quote that says, pain is temporary, quitting is forever.
100%.
And that is one that actually should be a book title, right? Because the thing about it is I cannot tell you the number of times this 10th year I've woke up going, really? Are you sure? And the point is I just remind myself, pain is temporary, quitting is forever. And you literally have to look at it that way. You have to kind of MacGyver your mind, so to speak,
Right.
to say to yourself, you know what? This doesn't matter.
Yep.
This does not matter. This ache does not matter. This pain does not matter. I will get through it.
Yep.
And that's like the tired part that we face, every one of us, especially when we go in the holiday season, right?
Yep.
Everybody tells you you need to be joyous, you need to be happy, you need to be thankful, and I am. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't make me any less tired. I turned in my last paper yesterday morning. I was thrilled,
Hmm.
So I got done with another semester of grad school. Super. But then I realize I'm so amped up that I have a hard time relaxing for the first 6 to 8 hours after
Yeah.
the semester's over, because I was so used to the next thing being due, right? And now all of a sudden there's no next thing, and I am tired. And I felt I probably slept 10 hours yesterday if you look at the actual sleep time, and then as Nikki said, the nap.
The nap in between. Yep.
Nap in between. But the thing was, is I was just tired. That's
Yep.
just the way it goes. And anytime you're really accomplishing things, you're tired, you're spent, and you just kind of pick it up and put it down. I mean, kids are one thing, college is another, your job is another. We all have things that pull on us. And, the fact that we're not energized 365 is, come on, really?
Yeah.
Out
And
of
it's,
365, I'm lucky if I'm energized 60.
yeah, it's tough too because you think about it like I don't know how many people there's people who can go home and they can just unwind on the weekend. Like I think about the weekend to get the things done that I need to get done. Like what can I do
Yeah.
to get done what I need to get done? And I don't know, man. It's tough because you also sit there and you're like, "Oh, well, I wish this was over because I want to go do this other thing." Like sometimes I find myself looking like last night, I'm sitting down watching TV a little bit and then I'm sitting there thinking, well, what about tomorrow? What do we got tomorrow? What's on the calendar for
Yeah.
tomorrow? Because tomorrow's the day that I got to go back to work and I got to go do those things that I have to do, right? So it's always that thing. It's never you're tired, but you're never stopping. And I think that that's what a lot of people get caught on is like, oh man, the weekend's here, I'm done. I'm just going to sit around and do nothing. But the reality is if you're motivated, you're not going to do nothing. You're going to find more to do to reach that goal that you have and what you want to do, so that you don't end up quitting, right? Working through the pain.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another to-do list after the to-do list we're
Hmm.
doing, right?
Yep.
And I think the thing we have to realize is that as long as we're not initiating our fight or flight system, in other words, we're not staying amped and where
Yep.
our body's just soaked full of cortisol, then we're not really damaging ourselves. But we do have to be careful that we slide into hypervigilant states and where we're actually doing great harm to our body because it's not the good performance stress,
Yep.
like the stress you need to do a great job. It's the other stress,
Yeah.
the one that causes you to be fearful. And so that's always a battle. And I have friends that are battling the stress side where they're in the fight or flight mode.
Hmm.
I'm like, dude, that you can't stay there very long. Really, really dangerous for your body.
Yeah, I think you have to just realize that it's kind of a weird thing. You know, I've talked about this. This podcast is we're going on this is year 5's almost over, going on year 6, and I sit here and I think about this is I could truly say that when I started this, I was afraid of what was going to happen. I was afraid of certain things happening. I'm afraid of this and that. And what I've realized over time is that no matter what, even though there are things that do make you want to quit, that initial fear goes away when you realize that no matter what, you're going to make something happen. You have to. You don't have that choice. And if you can understand that you may fail, you may trip, you may stumble, but you're going to continue to move forward. You're going to continue to do that. You're going to continue to just chug away and pick away at whatever that is trying to stop you from doing it.
Yeah, and you don't want to be a human. You want to be a human being, not a human doing.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be in a constant state of motion where you're not living. You want to be able to take your little breaks that are going to allow you to soak in the beauty of the universe, your friends, the moment. You know, everything's about balance. And I know
Yeah.
you do a good job with that because I see your barbecue videos. So you are taking a moment to relish,
Yeah.
accomplishment and the time and, because things blitz by. I mean, all my kids are at a certain age, but, I have to do the count now. I have 5 grandkids on the ground and 1 on the way.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, my grandkids are growing in the weed category, kind of like our kids did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just all of a sudden, one day you look and they're in high school and they're leaving,
Yep.
and you don't want to miss that.
Nope. Yeah, and I think that's the, there's this in between portion with kids where you're like, he's in between. My daughter's 11. Now it's like, what's going to happen here? Because like you said, it's like all of a sudden she's 11 and pretty soon she's going to be gone. I mean, that's 11 years that she spent with us. Theoretically, she can leave the house in 7 years if she wants to. I mean, that's
Right.
it's a tough thing to think about because at the end of the day, it's like, that went quick.
Well, yeah, and that's why empty nest is so hard, right? Because you basically have a core unit, a nuclear family, if you will, and then all of a sudden, you start stripping away pieces.
Yep.
And you and your wife are sitting there at one point looking at each other going, listen how quiet the house is,
Right.
right? No one in it anymore. And it's so sudden, right? You
Yep.
spent all those years raising them, and all of a sudden it's boom. And I think it's really, really pronounced. I've noticed this around holidays, right? And so I try not to overemphasize anything because I don't want to put any pressure on my kids
Yep.
to do anything other than what they want to do, right? Don't consider dad in the equation. Make sure you call and say hi, but don't include me, right? Just if we want to do something together, but don't force it. I don't want you to feel like I'm another obligation.
Right.
I'm another to-do list item on Christmas Day.
That's the
Right.
tough thing too, because that's even as a child or as a parent, although you don't want that to happen, you still think about that. Like, what is my parents going to do? What are, you want them around. Like this year during the holidays, I really wanted my family for Thanksgiving even. I really wanted my family to be around and get along. And that has been a difficult thing for a very long time because there's 3 boys and we're all so different, and we don't always see eye to eye and we don't always get along, but we all have these things in common. It's just we think about them differently. So it's just a tough
Right.
dynamic, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you do want to spend time and you do want to connect.
Right.
I think probably what I've tried to do is just get out of the mode of making the holiday season this incredibly important milestone. And I've tried to say, listen, let's make more milestones for other reasons, right?
Hmm.
Let's get together in the fall. Let's get together your next break. Let's get together around your birthday, whatever, right?
Yep.
Not pushing this thing because the minute your kids get married, right, there's
Hmm.
another half of the family that has to be tended to,
Right.
right? Then everybody decides, okay, where's the Christmas going to be? There's three choices:
Hmm.
our place, his place, his mom's place, her mom's place. You begin to understand that the holiday becomes you, and you've got multiple kids. Things are really pulling on you. This is back to great things are created by tired people, right?
Right.
You're
Yep.
trying to make these celebrations like Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's. You're trying to make these celebrations, and it's a lot,
Yeah.
especially when you're tired, right?
Yep. It all goes back to Christmas Vacation. I always watch that, and I always think I watch that once a year. That's like the Christmas. I'm not a big fan of Christmas movies, but that's the one that I watch, and I sit there and I wonder how Clark was able to keep it all together with all the crap going together in the background. He was just smiling the most of the time, rather other than when he didn't get his bonus. But he
Right.
found a way to keep going. He got the Christmas lights lit. He had his brother-in-law in town who was doing some crazy shit. He lost his Christmas tree. He found another one. I mean, it's the greatest Christmas movie ever.
But but because we identify with it, right?
Yeah.
We identify with the chaos of trying to get things done, and that's again back to great things are created by tired people, right?
Hmm.
it's
Exactly.
not like it's not like you're coming in. So I think probably what we need most as people is to begin to understand the reality of situations because we've romanticized everything,
Yep.
right? We've romanticized, marriage, for example. It's supposed to be this, knight on a white horse. Come on, really?
Yeah.
That's not really what marriage is.
No, it
Raising
is not.
kids, oh, I'm just saying. There's a lot of things that we just have to be careful
Right.
that we over romanticize, right? Like, people used to get really bent out of shape about vacations, right?
Hmm.
Well, this has got to be the vacation because we're taking off time and blah blah blah. I'm like, and you see people coming back from the vacation, they're incredibly happy, and you see people coming back and they're incredibly pissed off,
Yeah.
right? Because it didn't live up to expectations
It's like you
instead
go
of letting
and
life unfold.
yeah, you go and you do those things, and I just like one of the worst things is like the bed, right? Like you're not in your own bed. How much do you like? You're happy the first couple days you get there. It kind of starts to wear on you. You get done. You're like day 4, day 5, if it's a 7 day thing, and you're like, oh, this bed is not that comfortable. I'm getting tired of doing all this crap. I'm ready to go home.
True. Good morning, Robin. Yeah, it's really fascinating. When I was down diving in Cozumel, the first time I went down, I went into this hotel room, and it was a nice hotel room. Went to sit down on the bed, okay, and I found out that the bed was basically this mattress on top of a cement box springs.
Oh, whole
So the
smokes.
bed had zero give,
Yep.
right? You hit and it went boom. And I went, and I had to look down there and I said, what in the hell? I went, okay. Now, it is what it is. I mean, it's a dive trip, but it still doesn't matter. I still wanted to sleep at night,
Right.
right?
Well, let's shift gears here a little bit. I have a question for you because I have an interesting take on this situation, but you're looking at baseball and you're watching like all this stuff go on, and it seems as though to
Oh,
me that the Dodgers are buying every single piece of the MLB that are very very highly talented, which kind of pisses me off being a Giants fan. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win, but it seems like they're trying to buy these championships. They have this new rule that Robert Manfred, and this is what pisses me off because it feels like he's kind of trying to bastardize baseball. Baseball's been the same for a very long time, so they're widening the bases. Last year was one thing. They're talking about putting a runner, or they put a runner on second base if it goes into 9 innings, trying to find a way to make it go quicker because no one has enough brain power to watch a whole baseball game, which drives me insane because they're trying to attract a different audience, right? Because the NFL is this juggernaut that everyone just watches football because it's exciting and there's movement on the field every 15, 30 seconds. So this new rule came out And two of my favorite people listening, two of my favorite podcasters, Eric Burns and Will Clark, were going off about this. And it was funny to listen to Eric Burns talk about it being one way and Will Clark talking about it the other way. And if you know anything about baseball, you probably know what Will's thoughts were on it. But they have this new rule they're talking about that they want to call the golden batter rule, where at any point in the game, you can at one point bring in your best batter and put him back in there. So say you're the Dodgers and you have Ohtani up and he comes in and they walk him. He essentially could be pinch run for and then get back in the box again to hit again for a second time. Or they can put him anywhere in the batting order a second time to put in this golden batter. And I just kind of wanted to hear what your thoughts are about that, and I'll tell you what I think.
Wow. As a baseball player and a coach, okay. I mean, listen, I've always faced weird rules, especially when coaching Little League, right?
Yep.
Only so many pitches, so many this. I've always faced, I don't know. Is it interesting? Buddy and I used to play ping pong. Okay. And so what we would do is we play normal ping pong, but we also said something called off the table. If the ball went off the table and you wanted to play it, you could for double the point. Right?
Oh,
so in other words, 1 point, right? But if it went off the table, right, you could elect to play it. And if you were successful, you got 2 points if you stopped the other guy. But if it was your serve, you got 2 points. So off the table made the game kind of interesting because the guy would slap it and you'd think, oh, that point's over. No, I can play it. It hit the ground back here. I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just fun. But as far as changing baseball, I don't know. I think it takes away too much from the strategy of setting your lineup. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'd be entertaining, I guess. But I'm kind of a purist.
Yeah, so I look at it a little differently too, because they have these things. Like one of the things that was kind of funny about it is Eric Burns, who is half of this podcast. He coached the Savannah Bananas, which is this like crazy. If you haven't seen the Savannah Bananas, you go Google it, go check it out. They got guys coming out pitching on stilts. They got guys who do backflips when they catch the ball. They got all kinds of crazy stuff going on where it's more of like an entertainment thing that they're doing. They didn't make it in the big leagues. Now they're going this way. So they're doing these other things. And it's not that they're not talented. They just can't make it with the best of the best of the best. So they're creating a different way to be better. And my thought on this golden batter rule. So if you think about it, if it was me, obviously I'm going to do everything I can to help the team because I want the team to win. So as a player, you go in there and you're like, oh, I'm the golden batter. Here we go. Thank you, Hal. Appreciate that. I'm the golden batter, right? So it's my turn to get up to bat. I'm the 3-hole hitter or 4-hole hitter, right? So you get up to bat and you don't make it. And then they get to like, say the 8th or the 9th, right? And usually like traditionally in a batting order, those are the worst batters on the team. So used to be that's where the pitcher batted or whatever when they didn't have the DH universal. And you have that 8th batter who's jacked up. He's in the game. He's doing everything he can to help you. And then all of a sudden, you take the bat out of his hands. So what they're saying to you already know that you're not that great hitter because you're in the back of the lineup. But as a player, you're always trying to hit the ball. You're always trying to do your best, and you're always trying to be better. So what does that tell you? It tells you that this guy is more important than this guy. So we're going to pull that guy out and we're going to put him in. And so to me, it's a really tough. A really tough thing to do because you're basically saying that this guy is more important than that guy, and I don't like that. And I think about that like every time I was playing, if I got pulled out, it was because this guy was better than me, And it is for the betterment of the team, right? Because you want the team to win, and it's whatever it takes. So I have really mixed feelings about that. And just don't think that, I just don't like the way that they're going to change it. Or if they do, they haven't said that they're going to do it. It has to get through everyone else first. But I don't know. I just feel like you're taking the bat out of a successful person's hand. I mean, they made it to the MLB. That's why they're here.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about. I looked at Soto's contract with the Mets this morning. I think what was it, 763,
Yeah.
763 million or something. And I thought to myself, I said, we're now getting into the land of stupid.
Well, yeah.
Okay, and I was looking at some data on real estate, high end real estate in Chicago, and they were getting killed for the first time in, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years, right? Same kind of things happening in New York. This rampant inflation that we had, money chasing real estate, money chasing baseball players and stuff,
Hmm.
are moving us away from our core values, like miles from our core values.
Yeah.
And so I think as a society, there's a point where you have to stop and say, hold on a second. When are we trying to change baseball? For what reason? We're trying to change baseball because we're an ADHD culture? What?
Yep.
What are we trying to do and why? I mean, again, not trying to be a stick in the mud, but you have to begin to ask questions about things like, Bitcoin at 100,000. I mean, these are all questions you have to start asking yourself. What kind of society are you creating?
Yeah.
Where are your values at? Why are teachers having to fight for another dollar an hour? Why are we having policemen and firemen? And, I can go on and on and on. These don't reflect who we are.
Hmm.
And I think it's time to suggest that we as a culture wind this back a little couple notches and say, hold on a second. Paying a guy $763 million for 15 years of baseball is ridiculous. Number one, he's not going to play 15 years.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. So again, what signal are we sending in our culture? Be
Yeah. And they
careful
don't.
because everything's a signal.
It's crazy. They've even found ways around like the cap, right? Like, okay, so now we're going to
Yes.
have this luxury tax. If you have over this amount of payroll, we're going to charge you more. And it's just crazy because you look at like what LA is doing. Now they found the loophole where, okay, so we're going to pay Otani this much, but we're going to defer a ton of it. So if they can get the player to defer it, of course they're going to defer it because on the back end, they're going to get more, right? I mean, you look at, what is it, Bobby Bonilla? There's like, it's Bobby Bonilla Day every day for the next like 30 years or whatever. Bobby Bonilla gets paid a couple $1 million because he deferred so much of it. Of course, you'd take that deal. Who wants to sit at home and know that they don't have that check coming,
Right.
which it's crazy. Like, I don't understand the Dodgers, especially, not just my hate for them because they're the Dodgers and I love the Giants, but just the fact that they are basically building a super team. It's not like a big three like in the NBA. It's a super team. Like every single player on their team is going to be this multi-million-dollar contract, and it's insane. It's like they're buying a championship. They literally are. I used to say that about the Yankees, and it's like this is like way worse, and MLB is allowing it to happen.
Yeah, and like for example, in the NFL, that's not sustainable because of the salary cap.
Hmm.
Right? Guys shift around, and you can only have so many multi-million-dollar players. And what happens is you have guys like I remember Tom Brady had to keep renegotiating his contract so that he could get players to
Right.
make them win. Right? He had to keep giving out of literally his contract.
Yep.
Uh, and that's back to this idea of what are we trying to do as a team, as a nation? We're in this as a team.
Yeah.
What are we doing as a team here? And what is this just I'm going to get mine attitude? There has to be some kind of balance, and I think what we're sending the signal to kids and stuff is get yours.
Yep.
Okay, but the reality is we can't do this. I mean, one of the things that Barkley said after breaking the Eagles' single season record was first thing he said was thank you to the offensive line
Yep.
because he doesn't run by himself. I remember Emmitt Smith is like his second year in the league. He bought Rolex watches for the entire offensive line.
Yep.
Why? Because every time they did a good job blocking, he took one less hit.
Yep.
It extended his career. He understood what team is about. We understand as a nation what we should be understanding what team is about.
Hmm.
We cannot do this by ourselves.
Right.
And that's what I think we're trying to struggle with. And you see these prices and these guys getting paid an awful lot of money. And like you said, building a super team. Really? Does that show teamwork, or does that just say money's money?
And I personally like kind of wonder in myself because I watched, again, and I know I'm banking on the Dodgers, but it seems to be where it's happening. And I watched Blake Snell, who was with the Giants, go to the Dodgers just because he wants to win. It's like, does a win feel very meaningful? Getting a World Series championship ring to me on a team that had one guy that was really good and the rest were just scrappers, would mean a whole lot more to me than just being on a team that has every single star in the league beating up everyone. It's like basically you're the all-star team against, everyone else. Like, to me, that's not very meaningful. Like, you didn't have to work as hard as everyone else did to get there. And that's probably just a me problem, but that's the way that I really feel about it.
Well, and I think you've seen perfect examples, not to extend this example back to football, but you saw this with the Cowboys in the early 90s. They constructed a great roster. They didn't cheat. They didn't do it. They just made really good personnel decisions.
Right.
Think about the Kansas City Chiefs. You talk about winning ugly. This is winning ugly. But guess what they're doing? They're working within the set of rules to try to create the best team they can.
Right.
And you know what? Kansas City looks like the Patriots. Why? Because they're finding ways to win. They're just manipulating whatever they can to get that win.
Yep.
Okay, that's the way the game should be played. Is let's play small ball in baseball, right? I'm going to beat you because I'm going to put the bat on the ball,
Yep.
right?
Yep. There's a lot to be seen yet. So it is. We'll have to watch and see how it unwinds. But thank you everyone for hanging out with us. We will be back here Wednesday, 5:30. Well, what is 5:30? I get my times mixed up, and we've still been doing this for over a year now. It will be 5:00 Mountain Time, which is 4:00 Pacific, 7 Eastern. Come hang out with myself and Robert Watson as we talk about what's going on in the world and just, everyday things. We made it through his book. Go check out his book. You'll see a little ad for that here shortly. Ours Victorious. It's just all about being better every single day. So whatever you're doing to be better. Thank you very much for hanging out, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, have a wonderful week, everyone.